Welcome to this is going to be episode 2 of the What's in Your Film Fridge. So I'm here with Jason Lane of
Hey,
it's Pictoriographica and
yeah, good job.
J-Lane TriPlate, right?
Yeah, J Lane Drive. Yes.
Okay, cool. So do you want to get it into a little bit about the Pictoriographica and the J-Lane plates?
Yeah, so I can give a rundown of the history. Um, so I work in high tech. I think most people know that I'm a lens designer by profession, designing optics for high tech industries. Um, so I've so throughout my career, I've always been around digital imaging from a being on the cutting edge and all that good stuff. So I think when the digital revolution came about, actually, as digital imagers were coming on board, maybe a year or two before the Canon Rebel digital Rebel came out and sort of changed everything. At work, we saw all these CMOS arrays coming out and CCDs coming out, and my boss said, "Go buy a bunch of those out of industry, characterize them all, and see if we can put them in these." So I kind of got sick and tired of doing that after months and months of characterizing digital cameras. So when the digital revolution happened, I had no interest in buying a digital camera. So I started shooting film because it's you do all that stuff all day at work. The thing I wanted to do was come home and do it at home. So film sort of provides a break from my high tech world that I live in. And so I did that. I shot that throughout the 2000s, into the 2010s, and a few years ago, maybe 2016, I was reading some articles about dry plates and found a recipe online that stepped through the process, and the equipment and stuff that you need to do that. I just happened to have that, so I put together. I bought the chemicals and just started doing it because being the engineer I am, it's the tinkering and technology aspect of making emulsions was appealing to me, and I started making dry plates, and the first one sucked and looked ugly, but I stuck with it because I'm stubborn, and they started getting better and better. And at some point in 2017, actually, I guess coming up on three years ago, over Christmas break, I had some boxes of dry plates sitting in the fridge, and knew I was getting busy at work, so I knew I wouldn't be able to get to them. So I threw them up on the classifieds on Fotria. Said I had some boxes of 4x5 dry plates, so I think I had 3 of them, and put that classified ad up, see if anybody wanted them. Went to bed. When I woke up in the morning, my box was full. They sold in like 15 minutes, and I had people asking if I had more of those, because they missed out and wanted some, and if I could make them in different sizes. I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Christmas break. And I basically didn't get any sleep at all because I was coating dry plates during the day and at night. So it sort of spontaneously started selling J-Lane dry plates, and it's been growing ever since.
Yeah, so that was like the proof of concept.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I heard about you from Nick Brandreth.
Yes.
Somewhere along the lines. So that's how, because I know he's really into shooting dry plates, and
yeah,
pretty sure that's where I heard about it. But one thing I realized is that I think a lot of people don't know what a dry plate is. So
yes.
Yeah, some people don't know what film is. So that's still kind of like a gray area, but I think definitely some people don't know what a dry plate is. So would you just describe it?
Yeah, so dry plate photography is a historic process that was, the way you shot photos before film was invented. So we're talking the 1880s, 1890s, and it's a lot like film, except the photographic emulsion, the emulsion layer, the light sensitive part of film, instead of being coated on plastic flexible film, it's coated on glass. And Um, so like a piece of glass like this. So this is a 4" by 5" piece of glass. This is one that needs to be re-cleaned, but you know, it's a hard piece of glass that the emulsion is coated on. And at the time, it was revolutionary because it replaced the previous process, which was called wet plate, because a wet plate or a tin type is sensitive to light. You can take a picture when the chemicals are wet. But you have to take a picture with a wet plate before chemicals dry out. And at the time, that was really inconvenient. Civil War era, the famous photographers that took pictures of the battlefields would bring their darkroom with so they could coat the metal plates with the chemicals, take their picture and develop it before the stuff dried out. So dry plate, this is why it's called dry plate, because you could, it see it, Tim? So it was sensitive when chemicals are dry. So I melt down the emulsion. It's silver halide suspended in a gelatin solution, gelatin like Jello gelatin. I melt that. I coat it onto the glass plate and let it dry. This has all got to be done under a safe light. Let's see the safe light back there.
Light.
And when it's dried out, it's packed, and then you can go use it just like film. So
yeah. So that adds another layer of convenience. Whereas, because what's the working time for a wet plate? Like from when you coat it, how much time do you have?
It's like 10 or 15 minutes, I think, when you coat the thing with the silver halide and collodion. And don't ask me what collodion is, I don't know. But it's when you coat it with the chemicals, you take the picture and develop it before the chemicals dry out. And that's about 10 or 15 minutes, from what I understand. The other difference is that the way that the silver gelatin emulsion technology was developed, at first it was as slow as tin types, including. So regular film is like ISO 100 or ISO 400. Plates are roughly like ISO 0.25 or maybe even slower, somewhere in there. Dry plates, when dry plates came along, and as people, mostly amateurs, improved the technology, you started seeing leaps and bounds, faster speeds over wet plates. So that's the other thing that it brings to the table is more convenient exposure time.
So you have, let me see, you have your regular plates, which are like the ISO 2.
Yes.
The speed plates, which are also orthochromatic. So it's a different sensitivity than the regular.
Yes.
And then now you're coming out with ambrotypes, right?
Yeah. So the ISO 2, the ASA 2 plates, I kind of look at it as the period of time in the dry plate era that they represent. So the ASA 2 plates would be roughly like 1880, which is early in the dry plate period, before they had figured out to make emulsion faster. It's also before color sensitizing dyes came along. The dyes that are added to the emulsion to help see a bigger part of the visible spectrum. So the ASA 2 plates, they respond to ultraviolet and blue, a lot like the wet plates that came for them. Orthochromatic ASA 25 plates, they're roughly equivalent to like what you get in, say, 1895, where in the intervening 15 years or so, you saw the introduction of color sensitizing dyes. So they respond to not just ultraviolet and blue, but also green and yellow, as I found out, into even the orange stuff. And faster, because to reflect the increase in speed over that period of time. And now the next thing I'm working on for TriPlates is TriPlate amber types, and this was kind of a happy accident, I guess you could say. I was down in Mass a couple of years ago visiting Sam Heiser of New 55 fame. You know, the release of the peel apart film packs.
Oh yeah. Do they have some new stuff out? I think I seen somebody post
They,
that.
they do. They do. Yeah, they've started producing them again, and are out selling them. The last I talked to him wasn't that long ago. He said that they were producing them and they're ramping up their production and stuff. So he was pretty excited about that. But I was down there visiting him because he had come up to see the TriPlate production, and said I should come down and visit. So when I did, took some TriPlates with, and he wanted to develop them in his famous format #1 monobath. And when we developed them, they didn't come out looking like a typical TriPlate negative, which looks a lot like a film negative. I'm trying to see if I have one here. I don't think I do. It looks like a film, kind of like what you expect from a large format sheet film negative.
Let's see if I.
Being the silvers being.
So like, let's see.
Yes. Yeah.
Like that.
Right. Instead of the highlights being black, highlights were gold color, and they were lightly toned, and it almost looked like positive. And we were like, what the heck's going on here? Did we do something wrong, or did we not fix it? But no, we kind of figured it was just, that was the way it was supposed to be. So, I kind of thought that was odd and made a mental note of it, and then went on my merry way. And a few months later, I was, I don't remember why I was thinking about it again. Maybe I was talking to somebody about making positives. Somebody was asking if I could coat tintypes with the emulsion, so they could do like a TriPlate ambrotype on black sheets of or sheets of black aluminum, like what the wet plate folks use. I said, well, I can try it, and while I got it to work, the emulsion didn't stick very well. But what I found was that well, when they asked, I said, yeah, I think I could do that, and I think if you use this monobath developer, you can get positive. And so I coated some tintypes, and like I said, a lot of them, the emulsion peeled off just because it just doesn't stick very well to aluminum. But the ones that did come out, they were a positive. Exactly why that is, so it's not a monobath thing, but I do know that. So, and if you ever use famous format #1 monobath developer, it's got a heavy, it's got a lot of ammonia in it, and I think maybe the pH of the ammonia, or the fact that ammonia sort of is one of the things that sort of dissolves away silver halide grains, helps tone the silver grains, the developed silver grains, a really light color, like a cream color. Anyway, so I like, oh, that's kind of interesting, and I shared a picture of one of them on the TriPlate photographers group on Facebook, which is, I started that group so people who are shooting TriPlates compare notes, share results, and all that good stuff, and it generated a lot of excitement. And people are like, "Oh, can you sell me some of those? Can you sell me some of that?" And I said, "Well, yeah, let me figure out if I can find some black glass, which I couldn't for a long time find smooth glass." I said, "If I can do that, then I'll try to coat it and get an emulsion nailed down to do that." And so I'm sort of still in the process. I sourced smooth black glass Got a bunch of wet plate shooters interested in that to put together a pre-order so I could get a shipment brought over. Because there's only like one place that I found that could make that glass and then cut it down, but they require large volume orders. So I did that. And I've got some glass, not a lot left over after the pre-orders, but enough to sort of experiment and see if I can nail that down and make those available. You know, Nick's a great guy. I talk to him quite often. We we're both heavy into TriPlate, so we're always comparing notes and sharing thoughts and ideas and all that good stuff. So he found some period literature about this TriPlate amber type sort of hybrid process that was available in the 1880s, and from what I remember, it was done to get wet plate shooters or type shooters sort of interested in dry plates, because, you know, kind of like in the digital revolution, you had a lot of folks going, well, I'm going to still shoot film, you know, until it became obvious that
there's plenty of people that want to do it.
Yeah, until it made sense to actually switch over. So in that period, there was a lot of interesting processes and stuff, which the George Eastman folks, you know, teach a lot of classes on. But so that's in the works, sort of ongoing.
So if somebody's wanting to get into dry plates, you do need a specific holder, right? Like you can't just use any 4x5 or sheet holder.
Right. So I'm going to switch the camera around.
Okay.
Here. So you have what I've used for a long time. You can find antique dry plate holders. And the difference between this and a regular holder is that got a piece of glass here. So obviously this doesn't have a flap on the bottom, and this took a embarrassing long time to figure out how to use. But to load a plate, it's got this springy tab down here, and you set the plate down against that and drop it in. So then it sits in there like this, and then release. And if you look up the patent for these things, they'll actually show this in the patent. A drawing guy pushing down and letting the plate fall against their thumb to release it. So you can use those, and I use these for a long time. The problem is that when people that first year when I was selling them, and I had a lot of people buying dry plates and stuff, I got the question of where can I find dry plate holders several times a week. And I'd tell them, go look on eBay and look for an antique dry plate holder or antique wooden holder. You know, you kind of have to use your best judgment as to condition. And then when you get it in, you know, you might need to wipe down the dry plate, the dark slide with pledge or something to loosen it up. The problem was that after a few months of doing that, I started getting second emails back saying, I can't find any on eBay. There's none there. And I went and looked. Basically, people had cleaned out eBay of these dry plate holders. And so I was like, well, you know, that's kind of a problem. That you can't hardly find these. So then I started trying to figure out if I could get new ones of these made. And I talked to woodworkers. I would bring this dry plate around, or dry plate holder around, to folks that I knew who did woodworking, and they would say, and I'd ask them, can you make this? And they'd say, I don't think I can, just because of the cut. Some of the cuts and stuff are intricate, and we're obviously done on high volume precision machines and stuff like that. So it was sort of the ability to make this on a mass scale. You know, it has very thin cuts, like here for the slide. ability to make these on a mass scale has kind of been lost to time because there's not a big demand for them. So at some point I was talking to Emmett Brown of emulsive.org about this problem, and he put me in touch with Steve Lloyd of Chroma Camera, and we started talking about making dry plate holders, and it sort of went from there. So now, aside from the antique ones, and of course the really nice holders like Chamonix makes single plate holders for wet plate, and there's a couple other companies that make really nice dry plate holders.
Yeah,
They're really,
Camera has one too.
yeah, they're like beautiful work of art, but you got to pay a premium for them, and I have no problem with that. I've bought Chamonix holders just because they're nice.
Yeah.
But I was looking for something that was a bit more affordable, because one of the things I try to do with the dry plates is set the price to be reasonable, because I don't have to make a living off these, because this is kind of a side business. Although when it becomes my main business, maybe my will change. But I want to make it affordable and available to folks, because I know that money doesn't grow on trees, and young photographers aren't, they don't have a lot of spending money, let's face it.
Yeah.
So neither do I, by the way. So we came up with this concept, and it's made on it. It's injection molded parts, so it's a high volume production at relatively low cost, and we assembled them, or we're going to be assembling them, and just try to keep the cost down. I think we're able to achieve that. I mean, the price is like, for a 4x5 holder, it's $75, which is the same price that you can get a new Toyo sheet film holder. And then the 5x7s are, just under $100, and the 8x10s are like $150, which seems like a lot, but if you look at how much those formats cost, it's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I actually consulted with Nick about it, because I had bought, I have them right here. I picked up some of these.
Yes. Yeah.
The speed plates. And I was actually myself, I couldn't really find holders. I was looking on eBay and stuff, and I would send him like screenshots of the ones that I thought looked decent. And he would say like, oh,
yeah,
like that one doesn't look like, the price isn't that good or whatever. And so I kept looking around, and then he had recommended that you guys were making one. So I went ahead and picked up a couple of those. So that was how I got into it. Because it was kind of hard to find the dry plate holder. So I just went ahead and bought your guys's.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. So I can show off some of the prototypes, I guess. I have them here. So I think this was one of the first ones that Steve printed out and put together. It's printed on a 3D printer. This one is a prototype that we did for a wet plate holder. It's kind of cool. You load the plate on this side, and then you close that flap, and it's held in place by magnets. And then there's the dark slide on this side. So we did this a couple of years ago, at the same time that we did the dry plate holder prototype, and then we had to make a decision of whether we should do these first or wet plate holders. And we kind of decided, well, let's do the dry plate, because there's nothing out there really, or there's not a lot of options out there, but there's plenty of nice options for wet plates. So we did this first, and the way we did it was, of course, the Kickstarter campaign. And here's the Kickstarter campaign prototype, the one that we that stars in the video. And that was successful, which is awesome. I was actually on vacation, and the vacation wasn't getting off to a very good start, but then we saw that we had met our goal, and so vacation at that time frame.
Yeah, picked up a little bit.
That was But yeah, and so then it's been a, you know, Kickstarter campaigns always take longer than you hope, and this was no exception. But it was, and COVID really threw a monkey wrench in the works. But yeah, we finally got all the last Pictoriographica holders out to backers, and then you know, that initial round was assembled at the factory, but for, you know, they did a pretty good job, but they got some minor details wrong. It was kind of a pain in the butt dealing with them, so we had all the parts shipped here, which was kind of the plan from the get-go, was to have them make the parts and then we'd assemble them here. So right now I'm in the process of ramping up production. You know, so I've got limited amounts of holders on the website and stuff, but as we start cracking those out, you know, the goal is to make TriPlates accessible to more people, which I think a lot of the key players in the TriPlate world have sort of been wanting for a long time, and I think we're gonna get there, which is awesome. Love bringing back the old process because it's got a cool, unique look.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that's kind of in the film community. It's film is pretty different in itself, but I think one thing that people in the film community like is that there's a lot of variety. So
yes,
I think it's a good thing that you guys are doing the dry plates, because that adds like another layer. For one, it's a historic process. So if you're kind of like somebody that's into history, that's a plus right there. And then it's another option where for a while, I think us in the film community felt like the options were like jumping out the window, you know, like they were kind of dwindling down. And then now
kind of film it, then it'd go out of production.
Yeah, so you guys are bringing another thing to the table that is an option for people to shoot with.
Yeah. And, you know, honestly, I'm not quite in the business of selling it. You know, I try to charge a price that will cover my material costs, and I set the price at the beginning so that, you know, as I started hiring on kids to help me. So I've got 3 high schoolers that I've hired, their neighbors or friends of the family or whatever, that help prep and coat the plates. So I can cover their labor costs and give them a cool job, something a little bit better than working at McDonald's flipping burgers.
Yeah.
And keep the price at the same level, because one of the things we all hate is when we see price of film going up year over year. So I try not to do that. So if you look at the price of a box of plates, you're like, oh, that's reasonable, I guess. It'd be nice if it was cheaper. Yes, I'd love to give these away, but I'm not independently wealthy, so you have to cover my costs. Yeah, and it helps cover my hobby expense, which keeps the wife happy. So happy wife, happy life.
Yeah.
And like I said, try to make it affordable. So I think I've been able to do that. I like to think that I've been able to do it. And the things sell all over the world. So I've got retailers that stock them. I just sent off shipments to the UK and to Germany. And
are you guys available in like a Freestyle or anything like that?
Yeah, so Freestyle stocks them, so you can go and look up Pictoriographica, and they've been stocking plates forever. Blue Moon camera up in Portland. They're awesome guys up there. They're actually my first retailer. They stock them. In fact, he just had somebody come in and buy out all his dry plates, so I just had to send him another shipment.
Oh, nice.
So if you're in Portland, he'll be getting more in soon. Let's see. So Todd's used Don's used equipment down in Dallas, Texas, a little hotbed of film photography down in the Dallas Fort Worth area. You know, they got a shop that stocks down there, a couple shops in Canada, and then shops in Europe. So which is pretty cool. I love that. I need to send these out to retailers so that people can get their hands on them. that's great.
Are you guys available at Looking Glass Photo? Are you familiar with them?
No, I'm not. But if you know somebody there, if they're interested in stocking them,
okay, I was going to say, in California we have Freestyle, which is I'm north of them, so they're like, you know, a little bit down south. But I like to keep things, you know, like semi-local, like within the state. And over in the Bay Area, we have Freestyle, or no, Looking Glass. So that'd be cool if we could get you guys in there.
Glass Key Photo.
Oh, San Francisco.
At some point. Yeah, in San Francisco. So they haven't gotten a stocking order in a long time, but they did stock them for a while, so you could go bug them too. They're great guys.
Yeah, let's see if we could get you guys in there somewhere. Yeah. Okay. I guess I'll ask the most important question, or maybe not the most important, but the topic of the show. If so, what's in your film fridge?
Oh yeah. So let's see. Let me turn the camera around here. So we bought this house, and it had this mostly furnished basement, and you can see that the ceiling's not furnished, or not ceilinged in, and that's important for tax reasons. But here's my fridge. So full-blown fridge, and you can see it's well, I've kind of taken over this whole area. So here's some holders. So 8x10 whole plate format. If you ever come across whole plate camera, it's an awesome format. 6.5 inch by 8.5 inch. But let's see. So here on the freezer side, you can tell that I like slide film. Yes. Mostly Fuji was the only game in town for a while.
Yeah, until I came back.
So lots of Velvia and Provia. I've liked Provia for a long time, Provia 400F. I used to use this for astrophotography. But then I've also got some Astia sitting here, which is a great film.
Oh, yeah, I've heard good things about Astia.
And one of the nice things about the small niche community is you can barter. So I traded some Astia 8x10 for boxes of TriPlates to the guy. What else? Some new, yeah, here we go. New E100 8x10.
Yeah, a lot of people were excited for that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Some quick load Velvia, Astia, some of this stuff.
Oh yeah,
and
that's
let's
like
see.
Old bricks now.
Yeah. Here's a cool one. Kodak Ektachrome Aero.
The video feed's going a little bit slow.
Pardon?
Oh, I was gonna say the video feed's going a little bit slow, so you're
okay. Slow down.
Okay.
See, I'm going through my fridge, so I'm getting all excited and going faster.
Oh yeah.
I'll try not to do that.
I'm just gonna say yeah, you're doing fine.
So here's the Cyberchrome kit, which I would love to try to use, but yeah, good luck there. Here's some old Kodak photographic paper. And there's a reason for that, because I like the idea of trying to bring back old stuff.
Yeah.
And I have a long-term goal to bring back obsolete film and paper. So imagine bringing back something that looks a lot like Velox. Obviously, it wouldn't be called that, but I always thought it'd be cool to try to do that.
Yeah, and for reference, Fuji is like the only one making paper nowadays, right? For C prints.
What? Well, you've got Ilford. Fuji's making color.
For the,
Kodak. I don't know. It's hard to find, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And especially, I mean, Kodak doesn't make any black and white paper anymore.
Yeah, I think Ilford's like the main one, if not the only one.
Yeah. So here on the fridge side, these jars are the working jars of photographic emulsion. So when my coder, Amelia or Laura, comes over, they'll grab a jar of either the fast or the slow emulsion, color. They'll get that warming up. It's got to melt down to a temperature of 120 F before they can start coating it. But that's where it is. So these batches are getting low. So I might have to make new emulsion soon. Here's my color drawer. So I got some Ektar 100. I actually just cut down a couple of sheets to whole plate format. I got those upstairs loaded. My black and white. So I got some of ADOX's UCHS 102, which is a great film. I love it. Here's a box that Sam Heiser gave me. Cat Lab's new X Film 80, which has, they're not kidding when they say it has a nice sort of Panatomic X look to it. Here's my favorite film ever, which I was sad when they stopped making technical pan film. This is a great film.
Do you listen to the FPP, the Film Photography Podcast?
Not regularly. I have listened to a couple of episodes.
Yeah, because I know they've said plenty of good things about TechPan. It's like a film of legend.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. It was a gorgeous film. It was my black and white film of choice. Here's a couple of unopened boxes of period correct dry plates. Standard dry plates, extremely rapid. Sensitivity 60. I have no idea what speed that is. That's probably close to ASA2.
Oh yeah.
Here is a box of opened Kodak plates, super Pancro press plates in whole plate size. I'm going to shoot those one of these days.
Are those 8x10?
No, that's these whole plate. So they're 6.5 by 8.5 inch, which is a great format that's in between 5x7 and 8x10. Okay. Here is some glass that is prepped. These are subbed and prepped and ready to be coated tomorrow. Here's some 16 by 20 inch plates that are going to be coated custom order for a customer. And then one more, I got to come here. This is my awesomest. So this doesn't look much, but it's about 30 sheets of Kodak Aerochrome color infrared film, 8-inch by 20-inch.
Yeah, and infrared is like extremely rare at this point, right?
Yeah, they don't make it anymore. So that's about it.
Yeah, that's quite the variety.
Yeah, it's just stuff that I picked up and don't have time to work on anymore. And then here's the production space for the. I need to get out of the basement. I gotta find an area. I sell these wooden plate drying racks. So I have parts here in the process of being made. So I've got a literally no crap actual brand. So I brand those. This is made custom. I showed one of my workers how to do that. And he was all excited.
So you pretty much have like everything that you need to get into dry plate. You got the drying rack, the holders, and the plates.
Yeah, and that's kind of, like I said, to give people the opportunity to try them out. So yeah, you can put together a one-stop shop kit and get set up to do dry plates. Now, the one thing, I'm a realist, so I know that people won't use, they buy a holder. they'll shoot dry plates and then, probably go back to shooting film or whatever. So one of the things we made sure that we could do was that you get those antique film sheath adapters. It's the same thing that dry plate shooters at the time would buy. They'd stick this into their holder, and then they could shoot film. So if you want to take a break from shooting dry plates for a bit, you can get these off of eBay.
It's like a septum.
Yeah, a septum, and this is probably 100 years old, and you can slide it into the dry plate holders and shoot film. And so actually, when I was doing like leak testing, I'd slip one of those in and shoot Tri-X just to see if I could track the light leaks. And we found some in the types that we fixed them. But yeah, so that way you don't have a holder taking up space to I don't know why, but drift away from shooting dry plates.
Yeah, that's good for some flexibility. You can go back and forth, give you some more usability out of the holder.
Steve and I are both photographers, so we kind of know what's useful. And these TriPlate holders, the TriPlates load, just like you load film. There's the dart slide out, and you lower the door flap and you slide it in from the bottom. And so if you're familiar with shooting sheet film, then these should be pretty intuitive to use. And the one cool thing I didn't show it, but the one thing that is always annoying about sheet film holders is that you don't actually know if there's a sheet of film loaded in it if you have a bad memory and forgotten what you have. So one of the things we designed into it was a loaded plate indicator. So when you slide the plate in, there's a little tab at the top that will get pushed out of the way. Yeah, and so you can tell at a glance whether you actually have a plate loaded in there, and it's not spring loaded, so you can push down on it, right? And if it isn't pushed down, then it's there's a plate in there. So that was my thing, because as I get older, my memory starts sucking.
Yeah, that's a good feature, and then it helps you kind of like eject the plate when you're going to develop too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it serves a double function. Push down on that to unload the plate. That way you can get enough space in there to get your finger or your nail, on the edge, so you don't have to touch the emulsion when you slide it out.
Yeah.
So Amelia, one of my coders, she's been working for me for a couple of years now. She just got done coding earlier, and here's the coding table. So the jar of working emulsion gets put in this water bath, which brings and holds it at temperature. This is actually a big tech plate, which is warm and keeps the glass warm. And these are the granite slabs. So what you do is you put a piece of glass on here, you squirt a known amount of emulsion on it, and you spread it around with one of these glass spreaders. And then you set it aside for the gelatin to set up. And so these are all, these slabs are all level. I've got a machinist level to level them out, so that when the emulsion layer sets up, it'll set a uniform thickness.
Is that done in the?
But once it, go ahead.
Is that done in the dark, or is it not as sensitive?
Yes.
Okay.
So yes, it's done in the dark. So I can hit the lights here. So this is.
Oh, you can do it.
These lights are.
Light.
Yeah, these are set for the slow emulsion, and the fast emulsion I have to turn them down. To about like that. Now these lights that I have on here, it actually took a while to get figured out. To figure out what lights would not fog the ortho plates. For folks who are loading and unloading the plates and developing them, these lights are just fine. You got plenty of working time. But when we're coating the emulsion and stuff, I had to do things like make this flap to put the primer emulsion in the shade, and then when the plates are coated, you know, I have these flaps that come down and put those in the shade because they can only be out, and even this light, as dim as it is, and iPhone's great because they're so sensitive, but it's pretty dang. It takes a few minutes for your eyes to adjust. It's so dark in here. But they can only sit under here for 10 minutes before they have to be racked and put in complete darkness to dry out, to dry completely. Otherwise they'll get fogged. So it took me a while to figure that out. And the lights are actually a very deep red. And of course they have to be dim. So I found LEDs that emit like 720 nanometers, which is a very deep red, almost infrared. Because I found that like a regular safe light, like a Paxton light, would fog those. So these safe lights are deep red behind like a Kodak number 2 filter. So yeah, it's so ultrachromatic plates, at least the original sensitizing dye, you know, it doesn't see just blue and green. It sees green, yellow, orange, and some red as well, which was a surprise to me. So for me, what I get out of this is learning new things like that and troubleshooting. You know, that appeals to the engineer in me.
Yeah, I'm new to all the TriPlate stuff, so Nick Brandreth has been giving me pro tips on best practices like that. He recommended some LED safe lights. I think he said they were from Italy or something. There's a guy that makes them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and let me see if I can find. I keep the boxes. I just had a blog post about this on my website. Turn the camera around. So I found these 2 LED lights. This Agromax LED far red glow spotlight. So you can Google that and find this light. And it's a big spotlight like this. They call it far red. This seems to work okay. And then this Alt LED, let's see, far red grow light bulb. So you can see the wavelength here. This seems to work well also. For the ASA2 plates, you know, even a safe light with the OC filter on it's fine. Because it only sees UV and blue, and that's it. But for the ortho plates, it was surprising to find that they're even more sensitive than orthochromatic film or photo paper, which is slightly orthochromatic.
Yeah, I loaded some earlier this morning, but I didn't realize, because Nick told me to be careful with loading them, so I didn't realize you know, the sensitivity level. So we'll see how those turn out. I haven't tested them yet.
Yeah, if they're a little foggy, then you know why. And one of the things I also do, you know, to try to keep consistent batch to batch, which is important, you know, because there's professional photographers who are using these things, and so when they buy one batch, you know, I want to make sure that it works the same as the last one, and that's actually more challenging than what you'd think. And I think the ASA2 plates are there, and the Ortho 25 plates there. I finally gotten to the point where I'm happy with the consistency. But one of the things I do is I figure out a way to generate the characteristic curve. So if you're the type of photographer that pays attention to that, which I think everybody does at some point or another, you can go on the website and see the characteristic curve in blog posts and stuff. So you know what the sensitivity is and what the contrast and gamma corrections, all that stuff is.
Yeah. So I guess right now would be a good time to say where we can find you. So your website, is it Pictoriographica.com?
Yeah, and I'm hoping you put a link on that because I could try spelling it, but I don't think people could write fast enough.
I'll put the link in there.
Yeah. And I'm also on Instagram at Pictoriographica. And then on Facebook, I've got a Pictoriographica site on Facebook, but I'm actually more active in the TriPlate photographers group, which was the group I set up so that folks could share results and share notes. And it's a pretty active group. Lots of good info in there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Well, I won't take up too much of your time. So we'll talk some more TriPlate stuff in the, I don't know. I think after I test the plates out, I'll probably be getting back to you with some questions and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to seeing your results. There is a learning curve to it, of course.
Yeah.
These are, my goal is to make these as replicate as accurately as possible TriPlates of that period. So, that I threw away 100 years of innovation that makes photography easy.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's part of the fun is getting up that learning curve. And for me, TriPlates, you're going to find, I think, that you have to pay much closer attention to like the color of your subjects and what the weather is doing and the lighting and all that good stuff becomes much more important. So for me, I think it really strengthened my photography, and you may find that's the same for you as well. So
yeah, I'm going to go in with low expectations and just kind of see where I end up.
Yeah, that's good. Low expectations is great. Yeah. So, happy to see your results and help you troubleshoot. There's some things that I learned the hard way that I think other folks can avoid learning the hard way too.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for being on here.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well,
fun showing off the footprints.
Yeah. So, I guess I'll see you when I get some results.
Okay. Yeah. Post them to Instagram and tag me, or post them to the TriPlate photographers group. Join that if you haven't yet.
Okay. Yeah.
I love seeing this stuff. I love seeing this stuff because, first of all, most folks are a better photographer than I am, and second, I don't have a lot of time for it. So I do live vicariously through other people's TriPlate photography.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well.
All right.
We'll see you on the next one.
All right. Have a good one.
Okay. Thanks, Jason.